Welcome to Amanda Hall Psychic Show here on A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV. My, don't the weeks go quickly. I mean, it's just, they seem to be flying by. Here we are nearly at the end of July, and before we know it, we'll be sort of counting down the days till Christmas. So it's been a very interesting week all around the world. I know for many of you, you're starting to feel a little bit fatigued with everything that's going on. It's sort of like, when is life going to spring back to some sort of normality? When are we going to start being told the truth? You know, there's lots of issues that are going on at the moment, you know, and I can understand everybody sort of becoming a little bit blasé to sort of like, you know, numbers go up, numbers go down, numbers go sideways. Politicians say one thing, someone else says something else, and in the end of it all, I'm sick and tired of the whole lot of it. And that leads me into the Simply Tarot card of the week this week, which I think is very apt, that I drew before the show, which is the Ace of Swords. It's the card of frustration, and I hear everybody's frustration around the world. It's not just in your local area. I think it's everywhere. And it is the card of frustration. Now, when we have frustration, it means we've got to maybe look for a different solution or a different way of just being able to deal with what we can't change. And sometimes just accepting it is a way of releasing the pressure valve. It can also be the card of the double-edged sword. Now, what I mean by that is that sometimes things that are happening in our lives, even though we might get the result we want, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like it's got two sides to it. It could go either way, and it's the card of hollow victory. And that, to me, is when we've got the result and we sit back and we say, is that it? Is that all it was? I expected more. I was anticipating more, and I feel flat. So I think that probably pretty much sums up the world at the moment, that everything does feel a little bit like a hollow victory. You know, we take one step forward and three steps backwards with this coronavirus. You know, 1 minute we're in lockdown, the next minute we're opening up, and then the next minute they're changing the rules again. And it is really quite frustrating for most people in most parts of the world. So I want to move quickly into the astrology section, and I know we've been expanding a lot on the coronavirus over the last few months, and we're going to continue with that theme today because it is such a prominent thing around the world, and so many people have so many unanswered questions. Look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical practitioner, and I don't claim to be, but I am a qualified astrologer. And I can speak about it from a planetary point of view because I feel sometimes when we look at it from a different perspective, sometimes just that little thing will resonate with you that you think, oh, yes, that makes sense to me. I can sort of put something away. I can deal with something a little bit more because I understand the complexities of why I'm feeling so overwhelmed, or why I sort of are tuning out to things. Why am I sort of just becoming numb to what's going on around me? Now, the first one I want to speak about this morning is the sun. Now, the sun is what we all know as our sun sign, or our zodiac sign, or our astrology sign. And the sun continually moves its way around the zodiac. It takes 365 days to go around the zodiac. And at the moment, it's in the last days of being in Cancer. So we've all been feeling a little bit emotionally sensitive. We've all probably wanted to retreat to our homes a little bit more and just somewhere safe. We're sort of just shut the madness of the world out. That's all coming to an end in the next few days. The sun will move into Leo, where we'll all want to sort of roar and rant and rave and get out and explore our kingdom a little bit more. But that's not exactly where I want to put the focus. The sun is actually conjunct or holding hands, what's known as one of the Arabian parts in astrology, called the part of fortune. Now, the part of fortune is not where we make our fortune or make our money, but it's where we're supposed to find some sort of solace or some sort of answers in our life. Now, I really feel that this is quite interesting because the part of fortune is also currently today holding hands with the moon, the emotional planet in Leo. So it's really interesting from the point of view that I feel that, you know, even though we're sort of daring to step out of our comfort zone a little bit and sort of getting ready to come out and sort of explore our area again, with the part of fortune telling us, well, okay, this is as good as it gets for the moment. We just have to be patient. We just have to work with what we know. It's almost like on an emotional level, I feel like I want to scream. It's like I want to let it out. I want somebody to hear my frustration. I want somebody to know that I feel like that I need to be let out of jail in whatever way that might be, whether it's from the coronavirus or whether we just feel that this has been an incredibly difficult year in lots of ways. It's like I want to get out there and I want my voice to be heard for the first time in a long time. Now, just be very aware of that. It could be a little bit of a difficult time on the emotions. Make sure that you're not snapping and snarling and biting people's heads off because of your sheer frustration and wanting to sort of get your voice heard above everybody else. So please take a little bit more caution over the next 48 hours with that, and be aware that other people are feeling just as frustrated and as sick of it all as you are, that they might need to feel that they need the centre stage as well. So, you know, the stage is big enough for us all. It doesn't necessarily have to be that there's a leading lady or a leading man. We can have a major cast on stage all at once. So that's something that I do want you to be incredibly aware of. We also still have Neptune, which is the planet of illusion and delusion, in its own home of Pisces. Now, it's currently still going retrograde and will be till much later in the year. So it's telling us that some of the things are still being hidden from us. Now, whether that's deliberate or whether that's just because answers have not yet been revealed to the people that need to have answers, so therefore they can't communicate that with us, I think it's a little bit of both. Now, I feel Neptune in Pisces is going to aid where we're going to find some answers to this coronavirus. I think there's a lot of theories out there at the moment. I'm not saying some are right and some are wrong. I'm just saying there's a lot of theories out there at the moment. There's a lot of things to be explored and a lot of things to be weighed up and analysed. And out of this fog, I think in the next couple of months, we will start to get some more clarity. We will start to get some more answers. Now, this could also come in the form of some major breakthroughs with vaccines. And I know there's a number of trials going on around the world at the moment, and they're in all different stages of the clinical trials. And I know that everybody's still got their fingers crossed that we'll have a vaccine by the end of the year or the early part of next year. But even when that does happen, to have it roll out worldwide is going to be a mammoth task. And it's still probably going to take another couple of years past that point once we get one that's safe. And it may be that there may be a number of vaccines developed by a number of countries that will help combat this situation. But I also sort of feel with Neptune in Pisces here, he's sort of asking us to look at the way that we're handling things, to asking us to sort of look at the way we've been managing the world, not so much finances, but how we've been managing the world as an economy versus the planet. You know, what have we been doing to our wildlife? What have we been doing to our vegetation? Is there a better way of handling these things, or have we taken things out of balance? These are some of the important questions I think that will be answered in the coming months as scientists have these epiphany moments of, oh my goodness, we shouldn't be doing this, or oh my goodness, we shouldn't be eating that, or we shouldn't be adding that combination because this over here makes us sick or creates a reaction that we're not looking for. I mean, sometimes you sort of think, isn't that just common sense? And sometimes it might seem like common sense to some, and to others it's like the major breakthrough of the century. So please not sit in judgment of people. Let's just all try and work collectively together to find some answers to this pandemic. We still have Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer, which is something that not a lot of astrologers work with. It's where we find the broken area of you in your chart. So collectively as a globe at the moment, it's sitting in Aries, and it's conjunct or holding hands the planet of Mars, which is the planet of action and the planet of war, the motivational sort of planet. So when it's sitting in Aries, I think it's asking us all to take responsibility for ourselves. And look, I know there's many parts of the world now that wearing a mask or a face covering is almost considered law. Here in Australia, we've only got pockets of it where it's now sort of becoming mandatory in one particular state here. My personal belief is it should have already been mandatory everywhere, that if we all start to take a little bit of responsibility for ourselves and protect ourselves and do something as simple as putting a face covering on, that we're not only protecting the eye, we're also protecting the we. So if I protect myself, then I therefore start to protect myself against you, and I also protect you against me. And if we start to do that, I think we'll start to see that we can slow this pandemic down. And it's something that's inexpensive. It's something that's within control for each and every one of us that can do. When, you know, I know that there's other measures in place, whether it be lockdowns or restrictions, and certainly social distancing comes into it. But I think we've also become a little bit complacent when we sort of think, oh, well, I can go and do the social distancing. I don't need a face covering. Well, I don't know about you, but I like to sort of try and think that I can put as much protection up for myself. I mean, when I hop in my motor vehicle to go for a drive somewhere, I make sure that I'm seat belted in and I shut the door and make sure that, you know, I have all my wits about me. Well, let's approach it in the same sort of way. When we go to leave the house, it's like putting your seatbelt on in the car and making sure it's safe to leave the curb. Let's also make sure we've got our hand sanitizer and our mask, so that then we are prepared for any situation that comes along, that it becomes part of our daily routine. And I think by doing that and, you know, not making a big deal out of it, it's not a political football, it's something that we can all do for ourselves. And by taking care of me, I am then in turn taking care of you, which is what I believe Chiron is asking each and every one of us to do. It's asking us to go back to the beginning, go back to basics, and that's what the basics was. The form of human survival was, I have to take care of me before I can take care of you. So we still have the usual culprits in the usual places, Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn all sitting in Capricorn, all retrograde, all holding hands. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity, Pluto, the planet of transformation, and Saturn, the planet of discipline. And they'll be there well and truly and towards the end of this year. And they really are trying to make all of us collectively as a globe start to think of things in a very, very different way. And it's, you know, Pluto's role, he's been there since 2008, will be there till well into 2022. So it's been a very long transit of Pluto as he's been trying to make the world transform, change, look at things like global warming, look at things like economies, look at the way that we handle the minority groups. This is where we're seeing all these revelations, well, what people see as a revelation with the Black Lives Matter regime. I mean, that's been going on for hundreds of years. It's not something new, but it's all of a sudden, it's becoming a big deal to most of us, where it should have always been a big deal. So issues like that in the environment and how we approach governments and do we trust them and all those sort of things are the things that are going through our minds at the moment. But finally, I want to talk about one other area of astrology, and that's the planet Uranus. Now, the planet Uranus to me is the sudden, the unusual, the unexpected, the thing that sort of is like the bolt of lightning hitting the ground, something that we may not necessarily been expecting. Now, Uranus is a slow-moving planet too. He's sitting in Taurus, has been there for about 12 months now. Still got, you know, another 6 years or so to go in Taurus, so it's a slow-moving situation. Now, he's making what's known as a nice aspect to Mercury, the planet of communication. And we often talk about Mercury on the show here. Now, the reasons why I want to talk about this with Uranus holding hands or sextiling, making a nice connection with Mercury in Cancer. So they're not actually holding hands. It's just a nice, loose, gentle connection between the two of them, is that I want you to be very aware with Uranus sitting in Taurus. Uranus is this unusual, unexpected happenings. Sitting in the planet of Taurus is stubborn, fixed. It's connected to money. It's also connected to the things that we value. And that's not always money. That's about the things that are important to us. So when he's making a nice, loose connection to the planet of communication sitting in Cancer, which is our home, our environment, the place that we retreat to, things that we find important, it just jumped out at me that I think we need to be very aware of what the politicians are saying around the world. Now, for many of you, you're heading towards elections, or, you know, it seems like we're always in a constant election. I don't know about where you are in the world, but here in Australia, even though we haven't got an election for another 12 months or so, it seems like we never get out of election mode here. They always seem to be campaigning. And I think that's how a lot of people feel around the world in different areas, that whether you've got an election coming up or not, the politicians always seem to be on show and always seem to be trying to sway our opinion to they are the greatest and they're doing an amazing job. Instead of getting down and doing the job, instead of beating their own drum at how important they are, they should be focusing on the world events. They should be focusing on the pandemic, focusing on keeping their economies going, and giving the people the information that they need in a very clear and concise way, and stop sugarcoating it. Tell us the truth so that we can all start to make adjustments in our lives, and we can all pull together as a nation or as a world, as a globe. So I just want you to be very aware that they may be sort of trying to spin a bit to sort of make you feel a little bit secure, you know, hoodwink you a little bit that, you know, everything's A-OK as long as you follow these rules and just leave it up to me. I've got your best interests at heart. We all have to collectively make our own choices and decisions, and that's really important. So this week I've chosen the Simply Tarot candle. I sort of feel that, you know, we focus so much on healing and forgiving the world and all that sort of stuff. Let's get back to sort of focusing on something that's really important to us, and that's understanding ourselves. And the Simply Tarot candle was the very, very first candle that I designed in the candle range to enhance the reading of tarot cards and working with your own intuition, sort of, you know, starting to sort of listen to your own inner voice. And that was my very first baby that went with my very first tarot set, Simply Tarot. So that's why I thought we'd go back to the beginning today of Simply Tarot, and sort of whether you study or work with tarot or not, or whether you're just really wanting to bring some balance and some semblance of order in your life, and starting to develop your own intuition and listening to your gut feeling, this is the candle for you. So in the gift box this week, I've obviously picked the Simply Tarot candle, but I've also sort of chosen My Angel in the Sky, which we've got burning on set here, and we will continue to do so while the pandemic is going. And the final candle I chose this week was the Sun. I think it would be really, really lovely if we had some nice warmth, something to look forward to. You know, I think of the sun and I always think of positivity, a new day dawning, a time when things are fresh and new, that we can start to look at things in a way that we may not have been able to look at them before, because, you know, they say everything always looks better in the freshness of daylight. And that's what I see the sun as, you know, whether it's summertime or whether it's wintertime, wherever you are, it's like the freshness, it's the newness of the day dawning. And I think we can all do with that. We're going to take our first caller, and we're going to talk with Lisa in Rochester in New York. Are you there, Lisa?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Lisa, and pleased to hear that things are improving in New York.
Mostly, yes, I guess.
Well, a lot better than they were.
Yes. Yeah.
How can I help you tonight, Lisa? Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
I'd like to connect with my dad's mother, which is my grandma Mary, if possible.
Okay. What I can suggest to you is, if you fire a question at me, if she wants to come through and chime in, she will. It's very difficult to just connect with somebody because that's who you want to connect with. They've got to be receptive and feel the need to give us a message as well. So do you have a particular question you'd like me to answer?
Yes. It's really been bothering me. Not bothering me, but kind of baffling my mind. Did she call the hospital when my dad was in ICU?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Because
she did, but she didn't want anybody else to really know about it. It was something that she felt had to be private. It was, you know, it was her choice to do it, and it wasn't for anybody else to really sort of know or give an opinion on. It was her decision.
She was dead for, I'm 50, so 30, 47 years.
Yeah, but, you know, you're asking, did she make a call to the hospital? You know, a call to the hospital could have been coming to get, you know, to speak with your dad while he was in ICU. Just because they're passed over doesn't mean that they don't make connections with us, particularly at times like that when we're quite ill, you know, and we're in a different state of consciousness then, that it's much easier for them from the other side to connect with us and tell us everything's going to be okay. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're saying you're going to live or you're going to die. It's just their comforting way of letting you know that they're there and that they care for you. And, you know, she said to me it was her choice. It was her decision to do what she did. She didn't want anybody, you know, it wasn't for anybody else to know. Did your dad talk about that?
The guy that answered the phone, he was like, your dad, he named his name. And he said he got a call and she said she was his mother and she wanted to talk to him. He says, well, do you want me to get a family member? And she says, no, I want to talk to, and mentioned my dad's name again.
Right. Yeah, look, that's not an uncommon sort of story. And even though common sense tells us she's already passed over, how could she possibly make a phone call or connect in that way? But look, I don't believe anything's impossible. When they want to come through from the other side, they will find whatever medium or whichever way that they can make a connection that makes logical sense to them. You know, you and I can't comprehend how could she physically make a phone call and come through a switchboard and speak to someone and give them your dad's name and doesn't want to talk to anybody else in the family, just wants to talk to him. But it's not an uncommon story.
And I mean, you know, he pulled through everything, but it's always baffled my mind because here grandma's been gone for 47 years. I was 6 months old. She never knew me, you know, so, you know, she was gone
for a very long time. Yeah, I can understand that. And I can understand you questioning it because common sense says, well, how can that happen? You know, she's been dead for so many years. She can't pick up a telephone and push a button. But I can assure you I have heard similar stories throughout my career, and it's not uncommon that they can do things that baffle us, that we don't even understand how that's possible. But your dad pulled through, and that's the main thing. She came through, she gave him the strength. You know, she talked to him while he was in ICU to pull through and telling him it wasn't his time. As much as she loved him, it wasn't his time. She didn't want him with her.
Right. Now,
so I hope that's helped you, sweetie. I've got to go now, Lisa, because we've only got a certain amount of time on the show, sweetheart, and I've got to take my next caller.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome, Lisa. We're going to speak with Michelle in Eva Beach, Hawaii. How nice. That sounds beautiful, Michelle. How can I help you?
Hi. I wanted to see what you see regarding financially or for my family. Like, I'm a flight attendant, so I'm not working right now, but can you tell me what you see in my future for my family and I?
Certainly, Michelle. Okay, the first thing that they're showing me around the family unit is that there's been a lot of change, and I'm sure that's probably goes without saying this year. We've all been through changes that we weren't expecting. But for you guys personally, it's sort of been like a real shake-up. It's like, even though, you know, we've all been through changes, you guys seem to have been through more changes, and it's become very obvious to you that we really do need to get a better financial plan happening. And I feel that that's a good thing because I think you've gone through everything with a fine-tooth comb. You've looked at what you can cut back on and how you can improve things. And now it's sort of a matter of applying it to the next step. Look, I'm not sure that there's another job there for you just yet, Michelle. I'm sort of seeing towards the end of this year, there will be the opportunity of work for you. But up until then, I think things are going to improve financially. And I think it's more because of your better management and sort of really considering whether to spend money or whether not to spend money. It's like you're making choices and decisions about, is this essential or is it not? And you're sort of looking at trying to sort of condense any outgoing debts that we've got, sort of like get those paid off quickly so that you can put the whole family unit into a better financial position. And I think this has been very good for everyone in the family to learn to pull their own weight in this. And it's become an issue then. Now everybody's starting to think about things differently. Instead of just I want, it's do I actually need this? Is it really a requirement, or can we put it off for a little while? And that's a good thing. It's been sort of like a family project.
Right.
Has your husband just been sort of talking about the potential of maybe a promotion where he's working or some changes with duties where he's working? Because I'm actually seeing an opportunity there for more money for him.
Say that. Okay. He was going up for a promotion. He interviewed for a higher position, but he hasn't heard anything yet.
Well, I'm pretty certain he's going to get it because I'm seeing an opportunity here for a promotion with extra money. And I was going to say as early as the end of August, early September. So it can't be something that is yet to come, like further down the track, unless if it's not this one, they offer him something else straight behind it. But I'm actually seeing a promotion here. What I want you to do with that sort of extra money is take that extra money and start paying down debt. Don't look at it as it's extra money in the family budget every week. Look at it as if it's an extra $30 a week, say, and I know it's going to be more than that. We take that $30 and we pay down some debt. And that way you're going to start to feel like you're really back in the driver's seat, controlling things a lot more. This to me was only one of two promotions though. I felt very quickly behind this promotion was another promotion for your husband. Now, quickly to me would be 12 to 18 months. Most of us tend to think of promotions being years with an S apart. This is very quick in succession. And it's not because it's not because it's something that your husband's expecting. It's like somebody leaves the firm and rather than them promote, advertise for someone outside, they're going to promote within their ranks and then sort of fill the lower position with someone new. And that's why I think this second promotion comes up quicker than what would be anticipated or what would be considered normal. So I want you to be very supportive of your husband. At the very beginning, he's going to feel like he's bitten off more than he can chew. Just keep saying to him, take it hour by hour, day by day, darling, and it will make sense. And it will, because they're throwing a lot of extra things at him that he's going to need to learn as the job progresses as well. So it's sort of almost like they've got an inkling that this other person may leave sooner than what people are thinking. So it's like they're grooming your husband already for the second promotion, even though there's nothing in a definite timeline there. So I hope this has helped you, Michelle. We've only got seconds left of the show, and I wish you and your family very well. So as we wind up the show, please be kind to each other. Don't forget to follow the local guidance from whatever your local environment, your local authorities are telling you as far as face coverings and staying safe. But don't forget, look after yourself first, and then that in turn helps us look after you and a collective of everyone. We need to beat this pandemic. We all have the power within our hands to wear some face coverings, to hand sanitize, wash our hands, and make sure that we keep our social distancing. So until next week, bye for now.